Hey everybody, welcome back to MTG Spec. This is Tom. Today we're going to introduce a new concept called the invisible reserve list, but it's going to take a little bit of background information to understand fully. First of all, the reserve list itself has existed for over a decade. It's not going anywhere. A lot of people have speculated that it's not really a thing, but you can look it up anywhere. It's pretty well known. It's over 500 cards, I believe, that are not going to be reprinted by Wizards at any point in the future. But there are some other cards that, while not explicitly on the reserve list, are also not ever going to be reprinted. And if you go to the Wizards Gatherer, you'll occasionally find this image in place of the card image. We have removed this card image from our database because it has racist or culturally offensive art, text, or a combination thereof. Racism and cultural insensitivity are unacceptable and have no place in our games, nor anywhere, not even in the human heart. And Wizards, they want to improve people. They're like the Alliance in Serenity. They want people to just be better. So they have a long history of printing multicultural cards, which apparently they've forgotten. Okay, so Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, not so many black folk there, but here we have Martyrs of Corliss, clearly multi-ethnic champions going on for the cause of white mana. Enchanted Being from Legends, 1994. What was this one? Doesn't even have a date. So pretty much from the very start, they've had multicultural images. There's Southern Paladin. What's up, buddy? From Weatherlight. They have, as we can see here, Arabic characters, Arabic or Persian characters in every color. They have Asian characters, again, in every color. Skipped one. Even artifacts get in on the action. There's a lovely black woman in the mirror universe. But yet, they've banned two cards because of racial connotations. One was Crusade, all white creatures get +1/+1. Another one was Cleanse, destroy all non-white creatures. Or no, was it destroy all black creatures? Yeah, destroy all black creatures. So they've decided to inject ethnicity into the color pie of Magic's mana, which doesn't make any sense. Here we have Hellfire, all non-black creatures are destroyed. Far from being viewed as a symbol of black supremacy, this is a perfectly acceptable card. Probably because, Wizards is based in Seattle and they're Satanists. Who knows? But the point is, yes, there are ethnically black characters in the black magic mana color, but there are also ethnically black characters in white. So when you have a card called Crusade that says +1/+1 to all white creatures, it means this lovely black woman, as well as, these weird aliens and cat people and whatever. It's not about ethnic identity, but they've chosen to make it that way because of, I guess, just liberal lunacy. I don't know. But anyway, this Tavern Swindler, this Gwen Stefani looking chick here, she is a black supremacist, and Bad Moon says all black creatures get +1/+1. It applies to her. She is blacker than Linden, the Steadfast Queen. Maybe it's because Linden took on a white husband and Wizards doesn't like miscegenation. I don't know. I don't know what their problem is, but they're awful. They're idiots. But the racially insensitive cards are not the only ones they're probably never going to reprint. And I was thinking when was the last time they printed something with banding? Banding is a keyword ability that's pretty complicated, as we're about to see. This is an eBay listing for a card from, as I point here to the screen, The List. This is the first banding card, first and only banding card they've reprinted in a decade, maybe? Volunteer Reserves. And they gave it the, and they reprinted the one that has cumulative upkeep, which was another ability they fucking hate. So I think they did this, I think they reprinted this on The List as a goof, this Volunteer Reserves. For the most part, though, I was thinking like banding is probably on the invisible reserve list. And the only new card they've printed with banding is Banding Sliver. Oh my god, my camera's so crooked. So Banding Sliver, they was one of the convention exclusive, well, not convention exclusive, yeah, the mystery booster convention edition had these exclusive cards that were called playtest cards. And here we see all slivers have banding, and banding means, I'm not going to read that wall of text, but you can figure it out. Anyway, it's a complicated ability that applies to both attack and defense, but it applies differently to attack than it does to defense. So I think they did this just kind of as a goof. It's like Marvel had this character called Planet Terry that they did kids comics of, and they hadn't used the character in like 20 years, and then they just randomly threw him into the background of one of their comics to keep the copyright alive. I almost feel like this card is sort of similar to that. Like they just did it to remind people banding exists and they're aware that it exists. But the fact that the only two cards they printed in the last decade for banding was a reprint of this, well, I mean, you can get it for 99 cents. That's a steal. But a reprint of this awful Weatherlight card and a sliver that's not even tournament legal. Like that tells me that they're probably not going to reprint banding, but because they've already, put it on the list once, maybe we'll see a Benelish Hero as a nostalgia throwback, but as in terms of like a serious reprint, it's probably never going to happen again. And here we have the real MVPs of the reserve list. Contract from Below, Dark Pact, Demonic Attorney, Temerian Fiends, and Amulet of Quaz. All these cards have ante, which means that you permanently draw a card off your deck at the start of the game, and whoever wins the game permanently keeps that card. Well, guess what? That wasn't very popular with kids. They didn't like losing shit. I lost a fucking Mox, what was it? A Mox Pearl in an ante game. So I know the bitterness of ante. It's not fun when it turns against you. So ante is something that they'll never reprint again. Now these cards are already on the reserve list, but there are others. These are the remaining 4 cards, and I already talked about ante as a concept in my video called the Bizarro Power 9, because these 9 cards do have powerful abilities if you're playing ante, but no one's playing ante ever. But these were all reprinted. Rebirth was reprinted in like Chronicles, I think. Tempest Efreet. I think it was like 4th edition, Chronicles 4th edition. So Bronze Tablet and Tempest Efreet, I want to say were reprinted in 4th edition, and while Jeweled Bird and Rebirth were reprinted in Chronicles. But there's no fucking chance they'll ever reprint these cards again. Ever. It's just not going to happen. There's no reason to. They know full well that people have rejected ante, and unless they do it as like a secret lair goof or something weird, I don't know. I mean, that the only thing I can think of is like the most likely one would be Efreet, if they did like some tribal thing where they're like, hey, we're going to reprint every Efreet ever in some secret lair. I don't know. It would be very bizarre. So based on that, the racist cards already included Imprison, Jihad, Invoke Prejudice, and Cleanse. So those were already reserve lists. But these Stone Throwing Devils, Praetor's Gypsies and Crusade were not previously on the reserve list. So here we see gathered together for the first time the racist, the secret reserve list, the invisible reserve list. Now this is a common, that's non-common, I believe, a rare. These are all rare, I think. But the likelihood of ever seeing these in print again in any form is very, very low. And you know, there's a possibility that we could add to the reserve list again at some point, or the invisible reserve list as we've coined it. But for now, you know, if you decide that the waters are just too rabid to go out in terms of buying up actual reserve list cards, these three, because they've already been cited by Wizards as racist and they're not appropriate, these three have already seen high sales, and a lot of places won't even list them as buy list items. But these four are ripe for the plucking, and like I said, probably never see them again. But meanwhile, Wizard of the Coast is perfectly happy to have Retribution on their Gatherer, a card where literally a black woman is being sexually assaulted by a Minotaur. That's fine and dandy. In fact, the Wizards community has a kink for that. It's a 3-star card. So, well done, Wizards. You really have good standards and practices, idiots. Okay, bye.